Welcome to legendary Road America, where the action actually began on Thursday night as a race car parade extraordinaire unfolded with all the fan-favorite GT3, GT4, and touring car race cars driving from the track to downtown Elkhart Lake. Teams then parked their race cars at Siebken's Resort so fans could get up close to the drivers and the wide array of machinery from Ferrari, Mercedes-AMG, Porsche, Acura, Bentley, BMW, Audi, Honda, VW, and more. But one of the top stories coming into this weekend at Road America is the season-long battle that continues between Ferrari and Bentley. Only 1 point separates the two in the manufacturer's battle, while Tony Vilander in the R-Ferry Ferrari holds on to a narrow lead in the driver championship. And there are plenty of points on the table for the teams and drivers to grab this weekend. Another driver to watch will be Martin Fuentes in the Squadra Corsa TR3 Ferrari 488. After clinching the amateur driving championship at the Glen, Fuentes and his teammate are making their first step up into the Pro-Am ranks this weekend at Road America.
I know this track very well. I've known the Ferrari for a couple of years as well, so I think we're going to be good. I just want Mark to feel safe, feel comfortable with the car because he doesn't know this track. So as long as he can get up to speed with the AM guys, I think I'll be up to speed with the pro guys.
What would make for a successful weekend for you here at Road America?
A podium in the Pro-Am would definitely give us a good hope, and it's the first time we do Pro-Am, and he was nervous, me too. But I've raced against Kyle, which is in Pro-Am. I've raced against Colin. I've raced against all those guys, but finally we're in the same category, and I'm going to give him a little bit of a battle.
Meanwhile, Road America is home to one of the hottest teams in the series. Real-Time Racing, after missing the first event of the year, has been rocketing up the standings all season. And team owner Peter Cunningham is looking forward to a little home field advantage.
You know, racing at Road America pays the same points as any other racetrack, but this is our home track, and it's maybe arguably the best track in the world. So we love racing here. We love being here. We love all of our friends and family close by. So it's just a great weekend.
Coming in a race later than everybody else, but showing such promise, has it exceeded the expectations that you guys had for this program?
Yeah, missing the first two races at COTA didn't help, and then when Brett Curtis hurt his back and had to miss the second race at Mosport, we ended up running Pro that weekend. But we're still second in points. We're within striking distance, but we're just going to do what we can and see where the chips fall.
Real-Time Racing will also continue what has become something of a tradition here in Wisconsin with the much-anticipated chicken roast Saturday night for the entire paddock. And speaking of this phenomenal venue, it's time for the Porsche track preview as factory driver Pat Long gives you a high-speed tour of America's National Park of Speed.
Welcome to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Road America. My name is Patrick Long. I'm the driver of the 58 Wright Motorsports GT3R, and this is your Porsche track preview. Turn 1 at Road America is very fast. You approach, you see an access road on your left there. Your braking zone is after that. Low grip here, day 1 of practice. As we get up to speed, you'll see me working the steering wheel at the exit of the corners. Not how we like to be, but certainly when you're dialing in the car, you have to push to the edge and see where that limit is. Right now, we're focused a little bit on dialing in some oversteer. Exit of turn 3, up through the gears. This is the fastest part of the racetrack. We'll get up close to 160 miles an hour. It's bending, as you see, so it's easy to defend, but you have to pick your line here into the brake zone for 5. Down into almost the 200 brake marker. Second gear, very slow. A little bit free on the exit, you see. Use all that access road as runoff. Turn 6, it's blind on entry. Second gear, you have to be careful with traction here. You can wear the rear tires down. Turn 7, very quick. You almost are flat out in the race using the double curve on the exit. Take a breath before you get down into turn 8. Great overtaking opportunity here into 8. But you'll see cars side by side here. One has to give up as we approach into the carousel. Flat out up into 4th gear. You're tight on the inside, white line. Let the car out a little bit, square up for the exit. Pick your eyes up to the exit of the racetrack and go to full throttle before your hands are open. Building speed down into the kink, one of the most treacherous corners in North America. 5th gear, a little breathe of the throttle, back to power. Building your speed as we weave down the back straightaway. There's no radio contact. We're well below the pit lane here. You're all by yourself as you approach Canada corner, another overtaking opportunity. down to second gear, tight on your apex curbs here, and using all the road on the exits. Building speed, turn 13, we used to call it Billy Mitchell Bridge, no more bridge. Flat out fourth gear on the exit, access road, driver's right, hustle the car back left. Final corner, very patient, it's bumpy on the way in. You need your exit speed here as it's a big climb uphill to the front straightaway. Road America is tight, it's technical in some corners, but long straightaways, a little bit of everything for the driver.
What an incredible lap of an absolutely incredible venue. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Road America as we are getting set to go for the 11th round of the Blancpain GT World Challenge America at this legendary venue. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine down in pit lane for us. And you can see lights on these race cars. It's cloudy out there. It's dark out there. But so far it's dry, and we are looking forward to this one getting underway. Lots to play for as we take a look at the lineup. I think of great concern to everybody in this field except the Ferry team, the margin that Daniel Serra put up in this qualifying for this race.
What a lap he put together, a 2:04.5. What does that mean? Well, that means he's 1.8 seconds quicker than everyone else in that qualifying segment. He almost had time to stop and buy a double brat for himself. I mean, it was a sensational lap. He absolutely nailed that. Had a slightly faster lap going and just got into Canada corner a little bit too deep, but just a sensational performance by the young Brazilian.
Yeah, so he doesn't have a lot of experience at this track, as in none when he first started the car up here. So for him to do that, it was absolutely remarkable. And we got a car that's from our previous race, one of our GT4 races that stuck in pit lane at this stage. But the cars are out on their installation lap behind the official safety vehicle, the beautiful Acura NSX, of which there are a few in this field as well. And one of those big stories we talked about at the top of the show, the charge of real-time racing, and I forgot about the fact that that one race they ran pro.
That's right.
And so they didn't get points for Pro-Am there either. So 3 races they've missed, and they fought their way back for Dane Cameron to be 21 points out of the lead.
Yeah, and if he continues to win, there's nothing that Kyle Marsali and Martin Barkey can do about it. But guess what? They are quick here this weekend,
yes,
and if they can grab one of the wins here today, it'll be a little bit more difficult because Barkey didn't put together a great lap. He said he had some mechanical issues with the braking system that they corrected for Kyle Marsali's run that sets the grid for tomorrow. So they're very much in the hunt for the Pro-Am win here today. It's not going to be easy for the real-time racing boys.
Yeah, not at all. The car we're talking about, the real-time car, is that white Acura with the orange. If you've been following the World Challenge, you know that's real-time's colors. The other one, a couple of 3-4 cars back, is the MBRP Performance exhaust entry from Racer's Edge. But here we are getting ready to queue up, lights out in the safety car. And for Pat Long on the outside of the front row, that margin, and then those 2 Bentleys filling out row number 2, they've got work to do.
They do, because the key is Daniel Serra shares this car with our championship leader, Tony Vilander. He did the majority of the season with Miguel Molina. Serra filled in at Watkins Glen. They swept the weekend. Vilander right now has an 18-point lead over Suchek and Parent. That number 9 Bentley on row 2 has to make some moves early.
And we're about to find out if that can happen here in the hands of Andy Suchek. Obviously, Rodrigo Baptista qualifying the number 3 on the inside of that second row. Safety vehicle is in field, making its way up, and we are looking forward to this one getting underway. 90 minutes of competition, Sprint X style in Blancpain GT World Challenge America at Road America. Green flag. Pat Long timed that beautifully. He's got a good run. See if he's able to do anything around the outside down into turn 1. It all depends on how quick Serra is. Baptista way to the inside, Cal. Not going to make anything happen there. We hop on board with Rodrigo.
Just settling in. He's got his teammate Suchek right to his flank there. He looks to the inside, down deep into the brakes, down into turn 3. Relatively cold tires. They have tire warmers now to get some heat into these Pirellis, but on the pace lap and just sitting on the grid, they're not going to be at their operating temperature just yet. Suchek now with a big move in the number 9 Bentley.
Trying to get to the outside. Couldn't quite make it work. Looking to the inside now. He may be inside of Baptista. Yes, he's through. Baptista going to try the over-under. Suchek covers it. Baptista looks. I was going to say, you stuff it up the inside in 6.
Can't get too aggressive on your teammate who's in battle for this championship. Great start by Mike Hedlund here. He leads the Pro-Am division, followed by Till Bechtelsheimer. 3 Acura NSX run 1, 2, 3. Actually, Imperado's got in the mix there in the Porsche, excuse me.
Yeah.
Great start for Imperado. There you see him coming off at turn 8. in the Wright Motorsports, the second Wright Motorsports entry.
He qualified third and jumped into second, so great read there. Then it is Barkey in the points leading MBRP, Racer's Edge Acura.
Rodrigo using air range of the road there on turn in. Sometimes you can just feel those little tiger teeth there. That gives you your turn-in point, and particularly at the apex, you want to just clip that to know you're right on line. You can't afford to miss the apex there in the King. Here's our Pro-Am leader, Mike Headland. What a run he had at Watkins Glen, leading overall and keeping Daniel Serra at bay for many laps mid-race after the pit stop action.
Yeah, he was loving every minute of it. It was very smart when they got finally to him and started attacking him. When we're here for Pro-Am, let him through. But it was fun to watch and a lot of fun to call, that's for sure, as the field streams up. Thing that just blows me away, these cars that make so much downforce, the aggressiveness they can turn into the kink. Normally you think you've got to be very smooth there, and these cars, with all that stick, you could be pretty aggressive on your turn in. As we watch, certainly those Bentleys seem to like that approach to it.
This is a racetrack that we thought the Bentleys would be strong at. This is the new generation car this year. Last year, Brent was sensational, had a win and a runner-up finish in the 2 rounds here. It was not Sprint X format, it was just single driver format last year. Michael Christensen had a win in the Porsche, and we expected this to be a racetrack that's suitable. They rolled off the truck. They did not have speed here yesterday. They were well down the order, didn't have the pace. They've worked on those cars. They're a little bit stronger now, but the key is, do they have anything for the Ferrari? They cannot afford to let Tony Vilander gap them any further in the points as the rounds are literally dwindling down here with just 2 events remaining.
Look at this great view here, looking back from Rodrigo Baptista to the Pro-Am leading real-time Acura of Headland. It's a great shot.
It is. Surprised that Serra's not taken off here. Pat Long is hanging tough. He was 1.8 seconds slower than Daniel Serra in qualifying, but he is hanging right with him now in the early going. Maybe they just set that Ferrari up for the longer run. Maybe the tires will come more into their sweet spot. Just in terms of the starting pressures, you start a little bit lower, takes them a little bit longer to get to their peak, and then they'll last a little bit longer. But tire degradation is certainly a factor. Serra was talking of it very early in the practice session yesterday, that the tires were losing their edge relatively early in the run. Relatively old surface here, Greg, is pretty abrasive on the tires.
You've got to manage it, and this is the other part of this track that you just have to be on top of, and certainly you even more so with a car with a lot of downforce, because you can go so late. This brakes, this place just eats brakes, doesn't it?
It really does. So things settling in now. Serra, as you mentioned, never run here before. Did some iRacing simulation on Monday of this week to learn the circuit, but this boy just gets up to speed so quickly. Tony Vilander's a lucky boy to have teammates like Miguel Molina and Daniel Serra just plug and play.
I love Vilander's honesty at the Glen when he said, I've had to up my game a little bit here because you know, Serra has just been so quick.
It can be inspirational, it really can.
There's Pat Long, who was just phenomenal. There's a reason he's a Porsche factory driver, North America's only one. And let's go back and take another look at the start. You can see Baptista way to the inside there trying to do something with it. And at that point, just held on to his spot. But it was the run here that Souček was able to put together. So
Souček was really wide there coming through turn 1, just gave his teammate plenty of room. And ironically, Andy brought that up in the drivers' meeting this weekend about what happened at Watkins Glen down in turn 1, where drivers were just running really wide and giving each other respect, getting back onto the racetrack, but they coexisted nicely there. There's Souček down at the inside into the brake zone in turn 5. Rodrigo thinks about it, that's the racer's instinct taking over, and then the brain settles in and says, you know what, that's my teammate.
Yeah, and you've got to be so far up alongside to make that work in 6, and oftentimes it just ends in contact. So I think it was a great move by Rodrigo to say, look, we'll fight a little bit later on here, and Souček right to the edge of the paved curbing at the kink.
Souček and Soule, teammates for Rodrigo Baptista and Alvaro Parent, have not raced here before either, so there's a lot of first-timers here on debut at Road America this weekend.
That's a very good point. Last year, the previous seasons, it's been a sprint race here only without secondary drivers.
A reminder of the Sprint X rules. Mandatory pit stop has to happen between the 40 and 50-minute mark of this 90-minute race. Mandatory 4 tire change, driver change. And the minimum pit lane delta today is 80 seconds. 80 seconds. Takes you about 46 seconds just to drive down this long pit lane here at 50 kilometers an hour, and then they give you about 34 seconds to get all of the servicing done.
And there's also a little refueling that happens this year, which is new if you're just joining us. But looking here now as we hop on board with Mike Hedlund, notice that Barkey is now up to 3rd in Pro-Am, as Bechtelsheimer must have had a moment out there and dropped back for 3 spots.
Yeah, Till said he has raced here before in GT4 competition, ended up on his lid, literally down in Canada corner, but he said it with a smile. Busy boy. He's a Brit who's based here in the States now, but he raced at Goodwood last weekend. He's going to be racing at the Spa 6 Hour next weekend, so right in the thick of his season.
Hedlund has, since he's joined this team, has done a great job as we ride on board with him. But yeah, Bechtelsheimer, not sure what happened there because he is quick. But it's allowed Kurtz and Askew, the 2 DXDT drivers, in the 04 CrowdStrike Mercedes and the 63 Usalco Security National Mortgage entries to slip through.
Imperado's having a really strong run here, keeping the pressure on Mike Hedlund, but as we've seen, Mike doesn't crack easily, but that Porsche is really hooked up. Right, Motorsports team have obviously been tuning on these race cars since qualifying this morning, because Long is looking strong and Imperado as well. Same team, yes. Different classes, however.
Well, Imperado, if you remember, I think it was here last year where he made his GT3 debut and ended up with the podium as well. So this is a place he likes. He's familiar with it. He's got laps here.
I think he's won here in GT3 Cup competition as well. So most drivers love this circuit. And if you've had success, just builds the momentum, the confidence factor coming into the weekend.
That's true. This is one of those tracks that even if you haven't had success here, you still love it. And a lot of tracks, you know, if you don't have success, it's not one of your favorites. This is. Whether I've been good at it or not, doesn't matter. This track is just that great. If you've had success here, you're passionate about the place. And Barkey doing a really nice job, having moved up into that 3rd spot. I'd like to be a little closer to Imperado. And has some room back to Kurtz at this stage. Imperado's pretty much glued himself to Hedlund now, hasn't he? Through turn 1, such a fast corner.
Yeah, and with the track limits there, they'll allow you a little bit of leeway there, but basically when you exit turn 1, you'll see some perpendicular white lines to the edge of the racetrack, and basically you got to have your right side tires, your inside tires at least touching that. You're allowed to run your left side a little bit wider, so they extend the track limits there a little bit to give you some margin. But if you do it repeatedly in the race, you have to give the advantage back. So whether it's a position change, you got to give the position back by the start-finish line, or if you take a big chunk of time, you got to slow down in that sector. They will try and analyze that as well, even though it is difficult for the stewards.
And up through turn 6, one of the trickiest corners at this circuit. Climbing into a brake zone with an abrupt flattening of the track. If you don't come off the brakes at the right time, easy to lock up. It's just so much that this track throws at you. And lots of great passing opportunities.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything. I mean, it's got some straightaway where you need to, if you can, trim the cars out a little bit. I mean, with the GT3 car, it's difficult. You don't have a lot to work with on the front end, so you're really just using that rear wing to balance the car. It's not like you can reduce or increase overall grip.
Right.
It's all about balance, which is the priority number 1. If you can do it with a little less rear wing, then that will give you the straightaway speed down these long runs, particularly this one down to Canada corner. Up the front stretch is the one where you can really pick up a massive draft, and even down at turn 5 and turn 8.
George Kurtz, the DXDT Racing entry CrowdStrike. He's CEO of CrowdStrike as we ride on board, and this weekend they are having another one of their big security conferences, and a huge number of corporate guests here that they have these meetings, talk about cybersecurity and the like, and then have a little fun and hospitality and watch race cars.
Yeah, they have a beautiful hospitality suite here, the Paddock Club, just first class. Everything George does seems to be that way, and he's having a strong weekend here. They tested here, and George is getting more and more comfortable with this Mercedes AMG with his partner Colin Brown this year.
weekend, CrowdStrike has really become a strong partner of the series on a lot of different levels as well. You mentioned the Paddock Club and other things and big things in the future as well for CrowdStrike in this series. So we're glad to hear that, and we're glad to hear that Ryan Marine is with us. How you doing, bud?
Hey, doing well, Greg. Good to be with you, that's for sure. We got Trent Hitman. It's good to have him with us as well, pulling double duty again this weekend. Back in an NSX, which you're certainly no stranger to. How have you been able to get acclimated with the Gradient Racing team here this weekend?
Well, the beautiful thing about the Acura NSX GT3 is the fact that it's a very consistent car across the entire lineup. So I've had the opportunity to drive quite a few of them now, and it's just plug and play. It's absolutely a fantastic car in that aspect. The Gradient Racing guys, they've gained a lot of knowledge on this car over the season. And I'm just happy to be here and be able to share the knowledge gained with Meyer Shank Racing throughout my experience with the Acura NSX GT3 together with these guys. And I think we're making a lot of good improvements with the car. Till's doing a phenomenal job out there. Ended up getting caught up with a little bit of a stack up in turn 8, Canada corner right at the start there, and ended up a little bit wide. But we've got a quick car underneath us, and I think he's making up quite a bit of time right now after that starts there. We're all right.
Yeah, the NSX, as we were talking about before the race started, seems pretty stout relative to the rest of the field, which is saying something. There's a lot of really good drivers and manufacturers involved in it. What makes the NSX, though, good around this place?
It's just how user-friendly it is. Again, the way that we're able to just plug in and go, or at least a guy like me is just able to plug in and go right off the bat with a car or a team or a co-driver that I've never really had the chance to work for too much. Or work with too much. So just having that accessibility to be able to hop right in, it's a huge asset to be able to do that. So at the end of the day, we still have room to keep pushing forward, to keep improving. Obviously, the Acura's been quite quick this weekend, and we want to take full advantage of that as well.
Trent's a busy guy this weekend. He's got this stint coming up. He's also got the Sprint X race in Pirelli GT4 America. So save up that energy and good luck, all right?
Thanks, Ryan.
That's a good point. He's racing 3 different divisions here this weekend, and he was talking about how quick Till is, and that explained why, because when he dropped back, he had a moment down in turn 8, but he's already got around Askew, and he has run down Kurtz in a big hurry here. Till, looking at that last lap, he just turned a 2:09.9. That's a good race lap for an AM driver in traffic.
It is, and that's right what the leaders are doing, Headland and Imperato, the leaders in the Pro-Am class, that is. So he's got speed, really fun guy. The more I get to know him this year, he just has a great personality.
Yes.
He loves his racing. And drives all sorts of stuff.
A lot of his he loves vintage racing, and a lot of that stuff is in, really vintage stuff. Old cars with, what's the old saying, when the era when drivers were fat and the tires were skinny?
Yeah, well, he was telling me the car that he's driven recently is called a Tajero. Jackie Stewart drove the car, and he said that's the worst car that he's ever driven. They only built 2 of them. That was probably one too many.
Apparently. Yeah, he drives the real vintage stuff, and yeah, he's just been a great addition to things here, and he's coming up on the back of Kurtz, heading into the kink. This is one of those corners you need aero through the kink, and if you're really close to somebody and you lose it a little bit on the nose, you got to really be on top of what you're doing heading through that corner. And he's going to look, thought about it, didn't quite have the run he wanted.
He had a good run going, but you're right. That is the one difficulty with this GT3 machinery, because they do have those massive front dive planes. And when that air is taken away from them, it really makes it hard to follow closely like we see in GT4 competition. But they're fabulous machines, but it's just a consideration and one thing that the drivers have to be really in tune with.
On a 14, the climb up the hill. Kurtz moving around just a little bit there, trying to break the toe.
I think he knows that he's vulnerable, so he wants to establish himself on the inside lane up to turn 1.
Watch off to the left here as we're on board with George Till. Got through enough, clears him and turns in, and there's also George, I think, understanding the dynamic there and saying, yeah, it doesn't make sense to fight here.
Yeah, no, just a clean move. I mean, Till didn't just sweep across him. He just recognized that he had the overlap done and could just take his normal line. George didn't fight him too much, just settle back in. Plunge down the hill. A sunny day, it's like you get that burst of sunlight there as you sort of like get to the brake pedal.
Well, he squares that corner up, doesn't
He does, yeah. It looked for a moment like he just missed it a little bit, but he still gets to the apex. What a fun circuit.
Yeah.
Fabulous stuff.
Here's a look at, it's going to take a while to get used to this, one of our Pro-Am competitors, the Hublot Squadra Corsa Alpha Prime and Ferrari Fort Lauderdale Ferrari in the hands of Mark Issa. Mark Issa leading the Copa Shell points in the Ferrari Challenge Series and having himself an extraordinary season, and at the Glen got the opportunity to step from the Ferrari Challenge 488 to the full race prep GT3 488, and talked to him at the Glen, and his eyes were saucer-sized. He said, this thing is special. This is something else. And it ended up, he and Martin were able to put together a great weekend and sweep in terms of the wins. And he said, yeah, I want to be back and do more of this.
It's like a challenge car on steroids. It does everything bigger and better. They swept the weekend, and for Martin, what a season he's got put together. So he had 8 wins now and missed a couple, so he's won everything he's competed in the AM class.
Yeah, he truly has. And you were talking about how clearly the Porsche Consulting Wright Motorsports team was able to tweak on this Porsche and find a little bit more pace for Pat Long. And Scott Hargrove might be interested in anticipating getting behind the wheel, Ryan.
It seems like it's been a bit of a work in progress this weekend, but it's been trending up. You found some pace, Scott, as the weekend has gone along. Where have you been able to go to work and find some of that speed relative to some of your competitors?
Yeah, you know, our balance wasn't perfect at the beginning of the weekend, so we've worked really hard to get it a little bit better, and the Wright Motorsports guys have certainly done that. We're night and day from where we started the weekend, so hats off to them. And then, of course, Pat did an awesome job in qualifying. It's going to be a tough one to hold everybody off until the end of the race. I think that we've got some quick guys behind us, but as long as we can, you know, especially some of the Pro-Am cars are really, really quick this weekend. So as long as we can hopefully have a big enough gap when the pros get in, we'll see if we can hold him off. But he's doing a great job in second right now.
Is that what you're thinking about, though? What's going on behind you? Everyone's been chasing that Ferrari. It's been awfully hard to catch, though.
Yeah, you know, I'd love to stand here and say that I think we can challenge them, but this weekend they've been in a class of their own. So, you know, we're going to focus on our race, hit our, you know, get a good pit stop in. Pit stops always throw a little bit of randomness in there as well. Plus, the weather looks like it could possibly rain. Fingers crossed it won't, but you never know. And yeah, we'll just see how the cards fall. But just enjoying being here this weekend, and of course, with Wright Motorsports, I think we've got a good shot to try to claw back some points in this championship and hopefully finish in the top 3.
Appreciate the time. Good luck in your stint.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, the interesting thing there, he was talking about the rain, and obviously you always prefer to run in the dry, but I think what we've seen in the past from how the Ferrari works and how the Bentleys work in the rain and how the Porsche works in the rain may not be the worst thing for the Porsches.
I think the Porsches and the Acuras could really come to the front. We're expecting a good chance of rain tomorrow. Today it's just kind of threatening, may or may not happen, but we saw a session last year where the Bentleys and the Ferraris were just so out of it in terms of their pace, and I think it still scares the teams in terms of what are we going to get when we throw wet tires on in one of these races? What sort of pace will we achieve? Because it was seconds. We're not talking a few tenths. No. They were bundles of seconds down on the quicker cars that day up in Canada.
Nice job there by Pat Long, clearing Kevin Milstein in the K2R Porsche before they even got to turn 3. That's always nice. Give yourself a little bit of a buffer, but both Bentley's able to sweep by smoothly. Looking at the Headland in the number 43 continues to lead Pro-Am, but by less than a second over Imperato. They're working almost identical times most of the time right now, Headland and Imperato.
Yeah, that could be a battle royale. So you got young Matt Campbell, the very impressive young Aussie, going to be jumping aboard of that. You're going to have Dane Cameron, who's the guy who's trying to chase down Barkey and Marcelli for that Pro-Am championship. Climbing aboard the real-time Acura, and Kyle Marcelli has been really, really quick this weekend. Grabbed the overall pole for tomorrow's race, so that should be a battle royale. It will come down to the execution of the pit stops by their respective teams to keep it tight, though.
Well, I mean, you just sort of lick your chops, don't you? Because you're going to have Hinman in the number 5. You're going to have Dial, who for the race tomorrow qualified 3rd overall.
Colin Brown.
Colin Brown in the mix. I mean, it is tasty.
Well, Hargrove related to it. He said there's some really quick pros jumping into the Pro-Am car.
It'll be interesting to see when Martin Fuentes takes over the number 7. Had a little off in the qualifying sessions this morning, but we've seen Martin as an AM driver, oftentimes he can qualify up in the top 5. So if he hits his stride here, that could be something to watch
When
right
Martin is on form, I mean, he can run lap times within, you know, I'm not saying, when I say tenths, I don't mean 9 tenths, I mean 2 or 3 tenths of Ferrari factory drivers.
Yep. All right. Marquisa working his way through that long, never-ending carousel. Here's a look at our lone AM category car here running this weekend, the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW M6 GT3. Naoto Takeda running behind the wheel right now. He'll turn over to Takira Surasaka. And as we're watching Marquisa, let's check in with Ryan and the above-mentioned Martin Fuentes.
Yeah, it's a new challenge for the team, stepping up to Pro-Am this weekend. You had Mark with you at Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
Helped there that he had been to Watkins Glen before. He's been drinking out of the fire hose, I think, a little bit this weekend here at Road America.
Yeah.
Not a lot of experience, or any, before this weekend.
Yeah, definitely Watkins Glen was a track that he knows, and we were fast there. Now he's struggling a little bit, and of course the car, we've been struggling this whole weekend. And then I had a very bad qualifying for tomorrow's race, but it is what it is, and we're just gonna get points and try to give a little headache for these guys in Pro-Am.
And you were saying you wanted a little bit of rain that might help bring those guys some headaches, courtesy of this.
Courtesy of Mother Nature.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, rain will help us because on the setup-wise we're a little bit far behind, and rain will put us all together. So hopefully we cross our fingers and get some rain here.
Well, you and Mark seem to make quite a dynamic duo. We talked about it earlier in the weekend. I'm not sure anyone is as energetic or having as much fun as what's going on under your tent.
Yeah, we didn't have a good qualifying. He was celebrating. I'm like, what are you celebrating, brother? I mean, we're not doing good. He's like, man, we're going to be good. I'm like, I love your positive energy. I love him. I love him to that. He's a good guy.
Good stuff. Good luck in your stint.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And let me tell you something, folks. If you don't personally know Martin, when Martin says to somebody else, I love your positive energy, that's just unbelievable to hear. He is one of the most positive energy guys you can imagine, and just loves his racing. And Issa giving it a bit of welly there, sticking that tail out just a little bit. Mark Issa, that's been one of the joys. I've been able to call Mark in some of the Ferrari Challenge stuff, and he is the most effervescent guy. It is just a joy to watch.
That's
it's
fun.
Great to see him
it's
get a shot.
It's great to have personality like that in the paddock. And nothing like a Ferrari in Italian colors there.
You know, the other, another of the Pro-Am cars, the number 87, it is the Cameron Racing BMW of Henry Schmitt and Gregory Leafage. And Schmitt just turned his best lap so far, 2:12.4. That's a really good lap.
He actually had BMW factory driver John Edwards come and test with them here a few weeks ago just to confirm some things on the setup. And I think the key with that, talking to Steve Cameron about what did you learn, he just said, we just learned to not go down these blind alleys of trying to fix something that is inherent with the M6. There's certain cars that are not going to do certain things. And we would sometimes try to fix something, and John just said, you're not going to fix that. Deal with that. Focus on this.
That makes great. So optimize what you have as opposed to trying. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's nice to have a driver of John's caliber to be able to come in and do that. On board here with Rodrigo Baptista. It was this weekend last year when he made his debut as a pro, and he got bumped up from the Pro-Am ranks. And this is, I'm sure, it's a special venue for both he and Alvaro for various reasons.
Rodrigo's such an amazing young talent, and we've seen him grow before our very eyes, coming up through the GT4 category, and then getting this opportunity with the same team, essentially moving the Flying Lizard side to the K-Pax side. And he's just got so much speed. But I will say that I really feel that this car this year, we're not seeing that little edging speed. Remember the end of last year when he absolutely dominated and wiped the floor with everyone at Watkins Glen to finish off the season.
Yes.
He's running fourth. He's right on the tail of his teammate, a very experienced Bentley driver, official Bentley driver in Andy Soucek. But I don't see that little dynamic edge that I felt that Rodrigo had last year, this year, and it could just come down to the car being a little bit different.
I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah, you're right. I've noticed that too. And I think, the change to the new gen car, the two differences. One, they gave up because they said the car turns so much better. They think it can roll some speed better and the like, and so they got rid of a little bit of the downforce because they knew they weren't going to have quite as much power. So they got rid of a little of the downforce. So I think Rodrigo, you know, that car last year was prodigious straight line speed with good downforce in long duration corners. And I think he's just adjusting to that just a little bit, obviously. But yeah, he just was like absolute fit that last gen car, you know, like a glove. He crawled behind the wheel of that. He just loved it. And I think he'll get there in this one. It's just.
Oh, for sure. You know, I'm not saying he's not there, but I just
exactly.
you know,
yeah.
it's just that little percentage that you see really makes a difference.
Yep.
And as we look at Mike Hedlund continuing to just be rock solid, I mean, he just seems to be unfazed by anything that's thrown his way, whatever
yep.
type of pressure it is. And the real-time group have really worked hard on their pit stops in their mid-season break. They didn't do a ton of testing, but they really worked on their pit stops, and they absolutely nailed it at Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
And that really helped them execute and get the sweep of the weekend.
Yeah, as you said, put Hedlund out in front in the overall in the one race, and then he just stayed there for a while. That was pretty impressive. As has been Till's recovery after that moment when he dropped back to 6th in class. He's now back up to 4th in class, and he just turned a 2:09.6 to Barkey's 2:10.5. And that margin's right there down last time by was 1.2 seconds. I think it's less than that now.
Well, we talked about the 21-point spread between Barkey, Marcelli, and Dane Cameron. They've got 4 rounds to go. If they were to sweep, it would be a 28-point gain. They would clinch the championship for Dane Cameron. But this is a big day because right now, Barkey's got to keep that car at the sharp end because you got Trent Hitman going to jump aboard the 5 car. That's not going to be easy for Marcelli to deal with. So if Till Bechtelsheimer can get around Barkey here and drop that 80 car down to 4th, well, suddenly that's a big point spread. That's not a 7-point swing.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? That's a 13-point swing.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different dynamic for the rest of the championship.
So Barkey, we said he was just fighting a little issue in that qualifying session, and you wonder if they might still be dealing with that just a little bit here. Boy, really early turn in there for one.
Yeah, he just said he wasn't on it. He said, I didn't nail the lap. He said there was something going on, which we believe we got fixed. And certainly by Marcelli's times in the session just a few minutes afterwards, I assume they did do that.
Yep.
And but again, it's a little bit different race car you're going to put underneath someone for what is either a 40 to 50 minute run. 40 minutes, we've got about 10 minutes before the pit lane window will open. And typically with the Pro-Am combinations, you're going to get the AM in early and maximize the seat time for your pro. So once you get to that window, you would have to assume that the 80 car races edge should be bringing Martin in. Till will probably to hand the reins over to Trent Hitman as soon as they can. This is not inside the pit window, so this is an unscheduled stop for the 63 car.
And David Askew bringing that car in. And as you said, this is way too early to count, so it looks like they're going to right front. Wonder if one of the sensors indicated something. That's a quick change. That was nice.
Well, these teams are certainly on it when they're used to changing 4 quickly. Single
true.
one, there's plenty of guys, and 2 guns are allowed in the full tire changes.
Having a look at the, boy, Schmitt continuing now. He's really starting to string together some laps. Nice to see Henry in that BMW San Francisco Cameron Race Products entry turn those laps to 2:11.3 as we're watching David Askew now get back up to pace. At the sharp end, it's only Sarah and Long that are consistently in the 208s. Problem is, Sarah's consistently in the low 208s as we go to that beautiful R. Ferry Ferrari. And Long in the high 208s, and that margin now up to 7 seconds.
Quick correction on that. It's just 1 gun that is allowed on the tire changes.
Sarah just able to clock these laps off.
7-second margin, which is really nice because that takes the pressure off the crew in terms of absolutely executing right on the number of that minimum pit lane delta of 80 seconds.
This car, the Ferrari Ontario, Toronto, Alberta, and Zekelman Industries entry.
And they definitely went to work in terms of what their starting setup was, because they were concerned about tire degradation. We saw that Pat Long hung with Daniel Serra in the opening 2 or 3 laps, and then this Ferrari's continued to maintain its pace where other teams and drivers have fallen off a little bit.
Oh, Serra swooping around Askew there, and that always spooks me going into the kink when you make the pass and then try and move back over to improve your line, because if you haven't quite cleared him, the speed you're approaching, he was confident in it and made it work. Here comes Pat Long.
Great run for Pat here today, keeping those Bentleys at bay. Doing a really solid qualifying run. Yeah, it was a significant chunk off of Serra's time, but to line up second was a great run for him.
And then Suchek and Baptista, that's about as close as it gets right now, those two.
You'd have to think with Baptista running as close to his teammate, does he potentially have a little bit more speed, but just playing the perfect wingman for Andy Suchek and Alvaro Parento, the closest chasers to the Ferrari in the championship.
Something I wanted to ask you about here, and this would seem to be a good spot just in terms of strategy, because if Baptista was a little quicker, let him through the draft, let him pull you around a little bit with the draft, but because of how aero-sensitive these cars are, you can't be that close to some of these fast corners for too long. Does that sort of negate the idea of having help your teammate out with a toe?
Yeah, I think it's it probably gives and takes about the same amount, right? Yeah, you're going to pick up a little bit of drafting speed, but then you're going to lose a bit of the aero balance through the corners. And ultimately, you probably want to just try and save the tires as best you can. We talk about the undercut and the overcut in terms of the pit stop strategy. The undercut is when you take the pit stop early. The concern before, when you didn't have tire warmers, was those outlaps on cold tires. Would they match someone's pace of staying out on well-worn rubber? So there's tire degradation to factor in. And it used to be offset by pitting early and having cold tires. You got to get those tires up to temp. Now, when you do the undercut, you got hot tires, fresh tires immediately. So I think that could certainly be the advantage. I would see teams erring towards that side. The flip side of that is you got to then make those tires go 50 minutes.
Exactly.
So if you're right on the edge, maybe splitting the difference kind of gives you 45-minute run on each set. So there's a number of ways of slicing this cake now.
I'll tell you, Rodrigo really eats that entrance curve, doesn't he? He just drifts over, gets those rights well onto that entrance curve at turn in. I'm not seeing other drivers do that much. For the kink I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's... I used to run here, and the curbing's changed a little bit. It's been many years since I competed here, but I used to, particularly at the kink, not be abrupt with it, but I just used to like to touch it, just a little, and you just knew you were on line. Just like a cat with its whiskers, you just had the feelers out.
Yeah, they're coming up now on Askew, the two Bentleys. Long has been able to clear him. Yeah, David's just breathing it a little bit, letting both of those guys slide through. Coming up on 5 minutes before that pit window opens, and all of the geniuses on top of those pit boxes that are crunching numbers and looking at data and the like. And, you know, at some tracks, you know, one of the big concerns is, you know, when you pit is when you look at the software you talked about it, where they create a ghost car. Where are we going to come out? We don't want to come out in traffic. On this track, 4 miles of track, that's probably a little less of a concern. It's always a concern. It's probably not quite as crucial, is it?
Right, you should have some bigger gaps out there theoretically, but you still want to factor in. It's 80 seconds you're going to lose. So you need to factor that in terms of where is that going to put me. You're not going to lose 80 seconds. It's going to take you 80 seconds down there, plus the guy staying out. So you're going to lose about a minute or so, comparatively.
Daniel Serra serenely continuing to build that margin up to 7.5 seconds. And they have just hit the magic combination here this weekend.
It's a sweet spot, yeah. They went to the top early in practice 1 and then just worked on used rubber. We're a little bit concerned. They weren't sure exactly what they were going to have. And Daniel said, you know, I was driving the car on used rubber and felt pretty good. But as I got more used to the racetrack, the tires were going away a little bit. But boy, when it counted this morning, he just, when we saw that 204 come up compared to what everyone else, not as quick as we've seen in the past. I think Butch Leitzinger, you said, has had a faster lap in a Bentley a few years ago.
Yeah, in 2015, Butch in the original version of the Bentley turned to 203.9. Pole last year here was Daniel Mancinelli at a 204.9, and Adderley Fong, if you remember, in 2016 in the Bentley also, I think he had a 204.2. So we've seen quicker laps here, certainly. But
it's been a good Bentley track over the years.
Yes, it has. Well, yeah, and that was, oh, look at this. Baptista thinking about it. Look, tuck back in, looks again. And then tucks back in again. But that original Bentley, with it had a lot more downforce, but it also had the motor to drive through it a little bit in terms of the VOP package for the car. It loved this place. Along with all of those, at Fong, Leitzinger, Chris Dyson had a pole here in one of the cars as well. So
forward here with Rodrigo down into the brake zone, turn 5. Slowest corners on the track. This is right at the point in the stint where these tires are going to not be feeling so good. These are the tires that they qualified on, so they've had some hard running here this morning, about half a dozen laps, and then coming up on 40 minutes of running here in the race. See the elevation change, plunge downhill again into turn 8. And this is a really difficult corner. This is the hardest corner to learn when you come here for the first time. So for guys like Soucek and Sarah, is just identifying where to place the car. When can you load the car again? You just kind of wait. When can you go back to power and finish off? You see Baptista just dropping wheels there on the exit of the carousel, using that curve, as you said, on the entry there.
Yeah, he likes to get up on that curb a little bit. And as we were on board, as we were going down into turn 8, if we have that shot again, just folks take a look off to the right side of the track. There's a huge go-kart complex that is really fascinating here as well.
I think one more lap for our leaders and that pit lane will open. Unlike last year, you don't have to be, the leader doesn't have to be the first person to enjoy the opportunity. You hit pit lane, as soon as that clock hits 50 minutes to go, you can dive in.
And on the other side of it, you don't have to, as long as you're in the pit lane before that 10-minute window expires, you can be in pit lane as long as you got there before that window expired. So hopping on board here, nice to see Henry Schmitt. We've been talking about him, and he's really putting in a good run. Looking at his times here, he's run low 211s. He's mid 212s right now, chasing Mark Issa. And this is for position. This would be for 6th in the Pro-Am category. And he's having a nice run in that BMW San Francisco Cameron Race Products machine.
212 is a very respectable lap for Henry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steve Cameron's such a racer at heart, just a great engineer. He's always wanted to tweak on the cars. He doesn't just polish them and stick some fuel in it. He wants that race car to be as tuned up as it can possibly be. Love the way he goes about his business.
And that explains, certainly, well, let's see, is Henry going to swing out, try and get down on Issa? He did, but got way over to the right and tightened his entry up so much that Issa was able to stay with him right around the outside. And that explains to a degree why they were maybe chasing those rabbit holes you were talking about, because Steven's a guy who's always been able to, well, we can fix this.
Yeah.
And and pit open and boom, right in.
Yeah, that's what I said. Henry you don't Schmitt. Have to be the leader. You can be.
Yep.
You can catch a huge break actually. Sometimes it can time out where the leader can't pit and everyone else right behind him can. So that's a huge deal. It's fortunate actually for the R Ferry group that the Bentleys, for example, couldn't jump in and do the undercut.
Yes.
And have the opportunity to pit a lap earlier.
Well, and they're turning over, Henry will be, to a guy named Gregory Leafoge, who is pretty darn quick.
He's really quick. And the other benefit you'd have is if there was a yellow and any kind of delay and slowing of the field, you're getting your stop out the way. Here come one of the Bentleys.
It's
That's
Soucek.
Soucek, number 9.
So Baptista stays out.
Sarah stays out. So it's 80 seconds is the total amount of time that you have to spend from pit in to pit out, including the service. They estimated that it's 46 seconds to just drive down the length of this pit lane. It seems to take forever at 50K. The pit stop, talking to the top teams, they said, if you absolutely nail it, you may be sitting still for about 5 seconds before you release the car. So you can't afford too many mistakes. Has to be pretty flawless.
Yes. Here we go. Suit check in. Parent will be getting in.
See on the Bentley with the right-hand drive car, very tight on that right-hand side with tire changes and refueling all going on right in the same little proximity there. We saw them have a problem. Actually, they'd be right in the thick of this championship if it wasn't for a bobble at BIR when they had a little bump on the refueler, got some fuel down on the exhaust, had a flash fire. That cost them the opportunity to be leading this championship at this stage of the game. So everything looks clean. They get about 5-second delay and they send them. There's software there which then will indicate to the team.
And Headland is in. And looking at it, a 1:21.2. So yeah, 81.2
seconds. Yeah. 80 seconds is the minimum.
And one thing I wanted to point out, just the amount of brake dust that comes out the front of those wheels when they pull that off here at this track. You don't see that level pretty much anywhere else. How close is this?
Yeah, Imperato was in at the same time as Headland. There was no delay on the real-time stop. They send him 121.7, so could have been a little bit sharp. There must have been a little bit of a delay in the service because as soon as they dropped him, he left. It wasn't wait and go. Matt Campbell's going to be up on the wheel of that Porsche right behind him and putting the heat on Dane Cameron here.
Yeah, and Campbell, that exchange was 81.4, so they left a little bit on the table as well. All right, here comes Long and Baptista. See what kind of stops these guys can nail. Sarah stays out.
That's the danger zone. If there's any yellow and you have to slow down, you're going to lose a lot of your advantage. Typically, it creates the domino. And again, the undercut, as we call it, pitting early. You're going out on fresh rubber, hot rubber. Tire warmers are now allowed in this championship. Started at the last round at Watkins Glen. That changes the whole strategy approach to when to come in during this pit stop window.
Boy, this is a long pit lane at 50K, isn't it? Just watching those cars trundling forever. All right, Baptista in, Long in.
Excellent stint by Pat Long there.
Yeah, just fabulous.
Still totally on top of his game. Such a pro.
Interesting how they work the car the opposite direction of some of the others. They go kind of clockwise direction. These guys do a counterclockwise. All right. What do we have here? Spare. There goes Long. There goes Hargrove.
Yeah, pretty evenly matched there then.
Ooh. Well, there's the Joker used up today.
Yeah. Just underneath the 80-second mark, so Wright Motorsports, 79.8. That was tight there with the Bentleys. Parent on hot tires, Soulé leaving on fresh set of rubber, not cold, but not totally up to temp.
Yeah, so Long and Hargrove, that exchange, 79.8.
You're allowed a 1 second Joker, which means you're allowed to be underneath that minimum delta by 1 second, but you only get one per weekend. Can't do it again tomorrow.
And here comes Sarah. And that exchange, yeah, look at that as well for Baptista and Soulé. That's spot on, 80.5.
That's as tight as you want to do it without employing the Joker second.
All right, and as this Ferrari makes this long trip down pit lane, Ryan Marine, they have got to execute here. But the nice thing is, Sarah gave him a heck of a margin.
He did, but we've seen how those things can go away with any kind of miscue in the pit lane. The good news, I suppose, also is that this Ferrari team has been really sharp with their pit work, and especially that was one of the storylines going back to Watkins Glen, where they picked up a couple of wins, and that was crucial for Tony Vilander, who was able to extend that championship lead. He's going to be jumping in, the Brazilian stock car champion, Daniel Serra, stepping out of that car. Looks like a pretty clean stop so far for this Ferrari team. They've been the class of the field so far. The whole paddock's been talking about it. Looks like a little bit of a problem getting the driver buckled in. That is now wrapping up as the crew comes around to this side of the race car. P0 is being slapped on. The fuel is done. It's down off the jacks, and now it's up to you guys. You tell me, was that a good stop?
Looks pretty good. We'll give it to you here.
Yeah, that was good. That's their best one of the year.
Yep.
That is their best one of the year, only 5/10 outside the minimum. It's kind of a weird dynamic. The mechanics all fall back towards the wall. They did that at the Glen. You think something's gone horribly wrong, but they executed that one even better than the 3-car did. So 20.59 for the number 3, Baptista de Soulé. 20.5, or 120.5 that is, between Daniel Serra, our pole sitter, and Tony Vilander, our championship leader.
Well, there is a rule that there's a line just like a meter off of that wall, and before you release the car, you've got to be behind that along with all of the tools and equipment. They got pipped on that at Portland last year, and I think from that point, ever since then, I've noticed it too, where they just kind of fall back. Yeah. It's like, I'll break a hip if I have to, but we're getting this guy out clean.
Not the prettiest look, but seems effective.
But I'll tell you, it didn't take long. Marcelli out has set fast lap of the race at a 2:07.3. So you were talking about it. Some of these pro drivers and these Acurs just seem to have some pace here this weekend, and Marcelli just uncorked one.
Yeah, the problem is their start was 83.8, so they left 3 seconds on the table there to the competition. So a little bit of work to do with the deficit that Martin Barkey came in with. So it's going to be a long road, but let's not forget, Cameron's going to be under severe pressure from Campbell.
Yes. Those are two awfully good drivers. Payne Cameron and Matt Campbell.
This Hargrove 58 car running in the second position, being chased by Alvaro Parent. There's our leader, Tony Vilander, just getting up to speed. Outlap for him.
Minute and a half left in the pit window opening, but looks like pretty much everybody's gone in and completed their service here. So now we'll see what the margin is as Vilander swings through. And here comes Hargrove, 5.5. And it was up to 7 right before that pit stop, so the Porsche team bringing a little bit back with that great stop. Parent comes through 2 seconds adrift of Hargrove.
Yeah, I think the key for Alvaro Parent, he has to somehow do something, catch Hargrove. He's got to get down and minimize that gap to Tony Vilander.
As we ride on board here, there's a look at Tony Vilander, and Daniel Serra was sparkling in qualifying, did it again in his stint. Ryan?
Opening stint for Daniel Serra. Just turned the car over to Tony. How was the race car? It looked awfully fast over 1 lap in qualifying, but how about the race pace?
I think on the race pace it was a bit closer to the rest, but it's still very good. The tire deck is huge here. Like I have to say, it is my first stint on this track on the race. It's different than practice that you stop and you go again. So I have to manage the rear tires. The deck is quite big, but it's looking good.
This is one of North America's most famous racing circuits, so for you to get to come here for the first time, I'm sure you've heard about it. Has it lived up to your expectations?
Oh yeah, like when I told that I was coming, everyone sent a message, oh, it's an amazing track, it's super great. And I have to say, it's really, really nice track. I think almost all the tracks in America are super great.
How about the car that Tony has now? What is he going to have to deal with the rest of the way?
I think he has to manage the rear tires, so we have a gap, so let's say he can go easily. He don't need to push as crazy, and then it will be easier in the last few laps of the stint.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that as that pit window now is closed. But the other thing I would think that's helping, Cal, is it's cooler than it's been at other parts during the weekend, and this cloud cover, it just keeps everything cool, and that has to help in terms of tires.
It's as good as it's going to be in terms of the conditions. Yeah. The racetrack is the racetrack in terms of the abrasiveness of it, but yeah, you're spot on in terms of the cloud cover. You're not going to have the track temperature that could have built on a sunnier day, and it's mid-70s, so it's for this time of the year, it's as good as it's going to get, but certainly a factor. And I think we talk about this Ferry team, they're the defending champions. and they're just executing. They've got the reliability, the drivers are not making mistakes, and that was their best pit stop of the year as well, so they're getting stronger.
Yeah, when you get down to that final run in the championship and you've got that lead, and this is when you want everything clicking, and they are. That's the only way to put it. They are very, very good. So,
very good, Greg.
There we go. Had to get that one out.
I like it.
It's been building all year. Now, Martin Fuentes behind the wheel of that number 7, and you could hear that he was pretty upset with himself with that qualifying. And we'll see what kind of laps he's able to start putting together here. And he's already turned. His last lap was a 2:10.1, and he's running a little quicker than that as well.
Say, based on that interview with Ryan, I mean, that's probably the most concerned and I'd call it unhappy that I've ever seen Martin.
Exactly.
I think they feel they're struggling a bit this weekend, and I think making the jump up to the Pro-Am category, they thought they could really fight it out. As he said, podium is our goal. And they're a little bit adrift of that, but certainly the competition is not light in that class.
Yeah, not in the least. Not in the least. Cameron now is taking fast lap at a 2:07.1.
Yeah, and the problem is he's got the fast lap, but he's still only got a half-second gap over Matt Campbell. So.
Who's turned to 2:07.1.
Yeah.
8. Yeah. And, yeah, Matt Campbell, as we hop on board with Martin here, down this long climb up the front straight, flattens out a little bit here. I can tell you with absolute certainty that if you're not driving something with some horsepower on that climb on the uphill here, you can lose speed. Been there, done that. Let's get down to Ryan.
Darren Law is the team manager for K-Pax Racing, overseeing this bit operation. It hasn't been the weekend you were looking for up until now. You've got your guys running 3rd and 4th at the moment. Problem is the car that you're chasing in the championship and now on track is up ahead of them. But you have found a little bit more pace here in the race. So if you're looking for a silver lining, is that it?
Oh, for sure. You know, the cars are, we found some pace. We found some things over testing and practice, and we've really actually got good pace in the general field. You know, the imbalance of the performance of that Ferrari is crazy. It's untouchable. So I don't know what's going on there. But as far as team executing well, the guys are fast. I mean, we're on pace, and we're having a good run.
The previous generation Bentley was so successful here at Road America. Were you expecting that to carry over to a greater degree than what we've seen so far with the 2nd gen, or is it too soon to say?
Oh, for sure. No, the 2nd generation car has been better everywhere, literally everywhere. I think overall, grip-wise, the track hasn't been what it was last season. You know, the general field is all very close, again, other than one car, but the new car has been phenomenal everywhere.
With the forecast for tomorrow, maybe calling for some rain. Do you like that? Is that possibly a chance to even the playing field?
I think so. You know, I mean, the rain always does even things up as far as drivers, and it comes more about their skill and their control with the car. So hopefully that'll bring performance levels a little closer and have the drivers be more of a factor.
Welcome back. Always a pleasure to have you here in the paddock. You were off racing the last time around, which is cool. I'm sure you enjoyed that, but I know the team's happy to have you back.
Yeah. No, it's great to be back, and always good to be here with the World Challenge program.
Awesome. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Darren Law, absolutely one of the great guys in the paddock. Got reports here of the number 3 of Soulé having a bit of a moment just a little bit ago. I think it was in the turn 5 area. Oh, yeah.
He's had a couple of wild rides. He had a bit of a ride coming out of turn 8 as well, I think, on that lap.
Yeah, here's the onboard. A lot of push. And I also noticed in the front of Parent's grill, there's looks like a plastic bag of some sort that's stuck there, just a piece of debris, and that can be a little nerve-wracking depending upon where it is in terms of cooling.
Should have a bit of margin here today, but
yeah, see,
there it is.
Not sure it's in a place it's gonna. Almost at this place here, it would be more concerned if it's blocking a brake cooling duct.
Alvaro, such a player in this game. I mean, he is top draw. I mean, whoever you throw at him in terms of teammates, he always seems to rise to the top. He sets an incredible benchmark for the team. And really nice man, real gentleman,
Yes.
hard racer. It's been a pleasure having him here in this championship for the last few years.
When you have so many people that have either raced against him or that he has raced for, all say one thing frequently, and it's that he is one of the world's best GT drivers, and they hold that opinion firmly, and you got to believe it. This is that battle for the lead in Pro-Am. You were talking about Cameron in the orange and white real-time Acura, and Matt Campbell in the second of the Wright Motorsports Porsches.
Tell you what, that Porsche is really quick through the first half of the carousel. I was watching that with Imperato in the sister car, the Pro-Am car. And when he was chasing Mike Headland earlier in this race, it's just really solid there. So Dane's going to have to be on his toes. He would really love to gap that margin up to 10 points on the Maselli Barkey car and get the win and keep that 80 machine back in third, but Campbell's not going to make it easy for him.
No, we know Campbell's relentless with what he's been able to do, and has had a great season, a lot of different levels. At that parade Thursday night, had the opportunity for the first time to really spend some time and just chatted with Matt, and ended up having a long discussion, of course, about running at Bathurst. And, you know, I mean, this is an amazing track. Bathurst is insane.
Yeah.
And hearing some of the stories that he's told, you know, with being from Australia and having raced there for a long time, it was just amazing to hear some of the stories. And then to hear him say, oh, yeah, but Bathurst isn't the most insane track in the world by any means. You know, what would be worse? And he said, he said, Macau.
Yeah.
The street circuit in Macau is just ridiculous. But on board here with Dane Cameron, and he's got clear track. He needs to make good use of that right now.
Yeah, he's a bit like his teammate in terms of being pretty stoic and unfazed by pressure.
Yes.
But he's got a pretty hungry young man right behind him. And Matt Campbell's already won a race this summer here at Road America in GT3 competition. So he'd love to pull the double.
So tricky, that turn 6.
See how smooth Dane is with the inputs.
Ooh.
Oh, Campbell runs wide a little bit. It's a tricky corner if you miss the apex there in turn 7. Just throws you off the road, but he didn't seem to lose a lot of time, but he is pushing here. I think it's all going to come down to that tire deck. Who's going to have the long run pace? They're very early in the stint. Here's a look at it. Just marginally outside of bounds there, but keeps his foot in it.
Yep, nice job. In turn 7, you have absolutely nothing helping you in that corner.
No.
I mean, you turn in, it's fast.
It's a tough one.
And there's no camber because you turn in it right as you start falling down the hill.
You want to get in there because you know if you miss it, it's a problem. But if you get in early, then that's another big problem. You got to give it a big lift or get up on that inside curb, which is not good. Love that little dance that the cars do there under braking, the twitchiness of it all as you try and settle the car in. You ask for a bit more, you get greedy, but if you bite too much off, it will bite you in terms of throwing you off the road or at least compromising your exit speed here.
Well, just in terms of line, it's a really tricky braking zone. Then you add in that there's a couple of bumps as well. And
you're turning. The car's not straight. So you got steering input in the car's up on its toes a little bit. You're just trying to settle it down and carry speed in there. You're asking a lot. The footwork has to be so smooth and precise, and the timing and rhythm is critical.
that little bobble by Campbell looking at the lap times. Dane turned to 2:07.9 and Campbell to 2:08.2, and that margin, which had been down in about the 6 to 7 tenths range, is up over a second. Ryan?
Mike Headland has got out of the real-time racing Acura. Dane Cameron, we've been watching him on track in the battle he's had for the lead in class. Right now, advantage Dane, but what is he going through? What is that race car like based on your time behind the wheel?
Well, our car is really solid. Good on the straights, good on the brakes. I think the Porsche is a little bit better in the tight corners, just being a little lighter. But I think it's a good fight. We're faster in a few spots. I think they're a little bit quicker in a few spots, but the lap time is very similar.
Well, that's what makes sports car racing fun, right? You have different cars. They look different. They make their speed in a different way, and it makes it for a challenge for you.
Yeah, I hope overall we're a little bit quicker today, but it should be a good race. I'm sure he's having fun out there.
And how much fun are you having with this program, especially racing here on home turf for them? This event means a great deal to Peter and the rest of the real-time guys.
Yeah, I think they have over 100 guests here, so hopefully we have a good result for them. But it's a lot of fun. The team deserves it. Hopefully we can give them a win.
We'll be seeing you at the chicken roast, right?
For sure.
Awesome. It's Mike Hedlund.
Yeah, the chicken roast coming up tonight. That's going to be mega. And one of the very cool things here in the paddock is on the other end of the garage they're using for tech, Real-Time Racing has brought out, I think, 7 or 8 of the cars that have raced in World Challenge over its 30 years. And it's like a moving history of this series. Just phenomenal to watch and to walk through and look at.
Petey has a massive Honda collection, road car collection, and the race cars, of course, they're based in Saukville, which is only about a 30-minute drive down the road from here. So I'm sure if he's got 60-something cars now to the collection, is just truly amazing.
And Petey, although it wasn't with Real-Time, but he's one of the few drivers here just at the track, let alone racing, that raced in the very first World Challenge race in 1990. So he's super connected to this series. And it's just great. Of course, the series now in its 30th consecutive uninterrupted year of competition, now under the SRO umbrella, but it's still very much, that's where the World Challenge, part of the Blancpain World Challenge, GT World Challenge comes from.
There is nothing to choose between these two drivers fighting out for the lead in Pro-Am. We're on board with Cameron once again. His last lap at 207.73. Matt Campbell 207.72.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, 2 awfully talented drivers. And Marcelli behind them is running fairly decent laps too. I mean, within a couple of tenths most of the time, but the problem was that long stop they had. That's what put them behind the 8 ball.
They lost about a couple of seconds plus there, and also, you know, Barkey had a little bit of a deficit when they came into pit lane.
Yes. Yeah.
But Martin's got his family here this weekend. He's loving his racing. He's doing a great job, and this Pro-Am class this year is super, super competitive.
Oh, it's stout. Just to give a shout out, obviously they are the only one running in the AM category, but still a pretty good run for the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW M6 GT3, now in the hands of Takuya Shirazaka. They've put in a couple of, they've had some good laps, but looks like they may have some struggles right at the moment here. Hopefully they'll be able to resolve them.
Tell you what, Campbell is keeping the pressure on. He had a really good middle sector there. He might be a little bit closer today in this lap. No, there's 200 and again. So over the 2 laps, they're exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing. I've been looking at the difference, the gap between those 2 guys. In the last 3 laps, it's been 1.0, and then something has changed a little bit. But we're going to the second and third decimal points on the changes. That's close.
Yeah. Seems like Dane has a slight advantage through sector 1, and then the Porsche gets it back in sector 2 a little bit, and they're pretty even in sector 3. So.
Vielander, meanwhile, up front here in the R. Ferry Ferrari, 3.3 seconds clear right there of Hargrove.
Yeah, Hargrove is keeping the pressure on. This is a great run for Scott Hargrove, the young Canadian. Won the Sprint Championship last year. We had 2 different formats. It all moved to Sprint X competition for a 7-round championship. We had 2 5-round championships last year. Scott Hargrove won that. Really set up the year with that sweep at St. Petersburg in the opening rounds of the championship. He and the FAF Motorsport team just burst onto the scene there.
Yeah, had a nice chat with him on Thursday night as well, and we were talking about that race and others, and he said, you know, obviously I love all these tracks, and he said, but he said, for me, he said, I just love racing street circuits because of the precision. And I think he's just a young man who relishes challenge and is up for every one of them. Then it's another 3.5 seconds from Hargrove back to Parent, the number 9 Bentley, and then Maxime Soulet another 2.2 back. And that's your top 4. Then the battle in Pro-Am, 5th overall.
Looking at the pace, though, I mean, we keep talking about the battle between Cameron and Campbell. They're running lap times 2:07.5s. The leaders are running 2:08.5s, 2:08.7s. So look forward to tomorrow when those Pro-Am cars will be starting at the sharp end. We could run into a scenario where you are turning that car over to Mike Hedlund again with a lead potentially, or Martin Markey, or Anthony Imperato. It's going to be fun to see them deal with that pressure from behind potentially.
Yes, yes,
start the race and get through the first half of it first, but could set up a little bit differently.
And yeah, just looking here, Vilander, every time Hargrove closes it up and gets close to getting it down to about 3 seconds, Vilander finds a couple tenths. Just keeps that protect.
I love his passion. I love the way he always like waves at the car like crazy. It's like, I think Daniel knows how to find that half very important when he's come down pit lane, but Tony just can't resist. And when you're down there during the session, he's shouting at the crew, he's coming in, he's coming. It's like, yeah, Tony, we got data here. We can see he's in pit lane.
Well, he does wear it on his sleeve.
He does.
He's just passionate.
He's a fun guy.
Yeah, he is. He is. And the quote of the year was, I don't remember what race we were at when they were talking about that. There was some issue or something. The pit stop didn't go quite right or anything, and the team manager said, "No," I said, "everything's fine. You know, we have those moments. Everything's fine." And he said, "It's just a little tougher for us on the radio." When Tony gets fired up and frustrated a little bit, but
turn the radios off and go and have an ice cream. I think.
Tony coming up in the back of Fuentes. Martin just set his personal best at 2:09.4. Hargrove just set a 2:09 flat, so Martin in the ballpark.
Yep, as we expected.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Riding with Martin. Long run here down what they call the Moraine Sweep.
The rear view camera there that really gives the drivers a great heads up. It's so hard to see the side view mirror when you're talking about all the body work and wings and everything, but that just gives you a clear sight back to see where either the competitor or the leader is coming from. Racing at Le Mans, who actually kind of initiated that. They got run over one year and said, okay, we need to do something to give our drivers a heads up when you got multi-class racing. And everyone seems to have jumped on board literally with a system of their own.
Well, it gives you such a better view, doesn't it? Just a general view. And then the technology is there now that also you can add in, it's essentially radar. That'll give you an indication of where the car's going in your mirror as well, which is pretty trick technology.
Just looking at timing and scoring, that battle between Cameron and Campbell has got ever tighter. It's now down to half a second. As looks like Campbell's long run pace is a little bit stronger than the Acura, maybe.
Yeah, he just took 4 tenths for Cameron on that last lap. And both of them are well clear of everybody else right now.
There it is.
Oof, that is tight.
This is exactly what Racers Edge need. They need someone to put the heat on this real-time Acura and try and steal away some of those big points here today. This is the sector where I think the Acura may be a little bit stronger. But Campbell is close. He's going to be pulling a big draft here. The Acura punches the hole in the air for the Porsche to follow.
Well, Dane on that last lap set his personal best in that first sector, a 36.3. Campbell was at a 36.6. Let's see what happens this time. That sector ends right before turn 5. The margin at the line, about the same, half second as it was last lap.
For Campbell, he's got nothing to lose. He's just going to be
all
in. All the chips are going to be on this one, baby. I don't care what you're doing for a championship. I'm here to win a race for Porsche. Porsche Young Professional. Already got a Le Mans Grand Class victory, a Bathurst victory to his name. And he's just getting started with his career. Campbell just sets his personal best first sector. This is the sector where he's really good. Yes. He could be really close to Dane by the time they get to Canada corner. I think he's really strong when you get to that carousel. Just seems like that Porsche can run a much tighter line through there. Dane and the accuracy so to set up. I saw what Headland compared to Imperato. See if we can see it here. Look at the Porsche, it just seems to be able to hug down a little bit tighter. Then, is he now in the zone, in the wake of the aero wash on that Acura? How much effect is that going to have on the Porsche following?
Canada, huge toll on the brakes here.
Now, all of that work that you've done with your engineer, this is where it really counts, because this is pressure pack situation for both of these boys. Who's done the most amount of work? Who's worked the most diligently as a team to make the car stronger at the end of this run here? Who got aggressive with their starting tire pressure, which is now going to backfire on them a little bit later in the run.
Really curious to see what we got for laps from these guys. 2:07.7 for Cameron, 2:07.8 for Campbell. Up front, Vilander a 2:09.2, Hargrove a 2:09.6. Soule, quickest of that lead group of four at a 2:08.5. So these two Pro-Am cars are almost a second to second and a half quicker than everybody up front right now.
They've taken a huge chunk out of the leaders, but they just started a bit too far back to be a factor for the overall position. But in a way, I think it's good for Cameron. He's not having a factor, maybe having to trip over some cars that may be a little bit slower, but not in the class.
That's a good point.
So it just allows him to focus on his own game. He's got clean air on the nose of that Acura. You got to focus on not making any mistakes, hitting his marks, and just hoping the tires stay underneath him. Who's managing? Who's pushing? You'd think they're both pushing, looking at the lap times.
No kidding. Well, yeah, and you're right. It is kind of cool. They have this little gap so that these Pro-Am guys can just race among themselves. These two up front, they just have everybody else covered. I mean, they're running a second quicker than Marcelli, who might be having still a little issue inside the car. We're hearing Hinman is in the high 208s, low 209s most of the time. Colin Brown has run a 208.7.
Ooh, that was wide for Campbell. That's the danger zone. Yep. That's the danger zone. He is putting it all on the line, trying to wring every ounce of performance out of that Porsche. Is he now just starting to lose the edge on the tires a little bit? Is that the first indicator that he's not able to dig deeper and find any more performance there? Looks like the gap has increased a little bit there.
Let's watch it again here.
That's about as close as you just like doing a pit lane delta within a thousandth of a second.
I was going to say, who's he think he is? Jared Andretti?
Yeah.
That's really funny if you watch the GT4 sprint race earlier today.
About half a second that lap. So that little bobble there by Campbell cost him half a second to the lead of Dane Cameron right in front.
Now, is it possible because he was as close as he was that was an issue of just losing a little of that?
It could be. I mean, I think he's been as close, if not closer, on previous laps. So I think he just, he was chasing, maybe try to close that gap down a little bit, move the throttle a little bit earlier, didn't move the throttle as much, just asked for a little bit more. And that's what the best in the business will do, Greg. And he'll know, okay, that I can't find any more pace through that sector there. Yep. That's as good as I'm going to get, so I've got to find it elsewhere on this racetrack. But so far, Cameron has not opened the door in terms of a mistake or given Campbell the opportunity to make a move and sneak this win.
Yeah, you don't want to give anybody the announcer's curse, but you don't often see Dane Cameron make a mistake either. Vilander coming up in the back of Lafarge. The BMW.
Great run for Scott Hargrove.
Yes,
I'm really impressed with the Wright Motorsports team, and whatever they have dialed into that car for the race today, they have definitely made a huge difference. It's been really impressive to see a car that out-qualifies you by 1.8 seconds on a single lap to be this deep into this race and be within 4 or 5 seconds is a really strong run. Based on this morning, that would have been the gap after 3 laps.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh boy, and Hargrove in that lap, Cal, took a half second out of Vilander. Now part of that may have been, I think, Vilander with that traffic. And Hargrove's going to have to figure out a way to get by Fuentes fast here. Love to be able to get a little bit of a toe down this back straight and then get through clean. Here's Vilander now with Lavage up in front. He's got to deal with. I don't think that Hargrove's going to get through.
Vilander's comfy right now. Yes. That 3 to 4 second is a nice gap to work with. Fuentes, I'm sure that was intentional, and I don't think it was. Just missed the corner a little bit, but it allows Hargrove to clear him easily. Vilander's got that nice margin where you don't have to take risks, but he's encountering traffic.
Yep.
The Bentleys are not far away either. Soule's doing a really nice job of keeping the pressure on Alvaro Parent. I mean, hats off to some of these drivers visiting here for the first time, Greg. This is not an easy place to learn.
No.
And for Maxime Soule to be within 1.5 seconds for Alvaro Parent, who won here last year and had a runner-up finish, really strong run by the Belgian.
Well, you take a look at that last lap. He just ran a lap that's, what, 0.8 quicker than Parent. Nice job there by Lavage. Just want to give him a shout out down into turn 8. Vilander showed him the nose, and Lavage just stayed way out, let him slide through.
Vilander 5 wins on the year, 8 podiums. This would be the 9th. He will increase his 28-point lead if he can hang on here. And he could increase it by 10 points. He's loving life that he sees a Baron in trouble.
Yeah. They've really been struggling this whole weekend.
Is he going to have to stop?
Oh boy.
Yeah, this is not good news for our leaders right now. Is he going to be out like...
Oh no, because there's no way. You just can't leave a car there.
No.
Oh,
highest
man.
Speed part of the racetrack.
No. It's the K2R entry. They've just been struggling for pace all weekend.
Well, this is the key. How much has Tony Vilander been saving? If
Saving,
we should see a full course yellow here and safety cars deployed, does he have enough for a 1 or 2 lap shootout? 10 minutes left. We see a safety car is employed. This is going to kill a lot of that clock. Just gathering everyone together, getting that car back in is going to be really tight to have enough time on the board to get back to green flag racing.
You can see the consternation on the R Ferry crew's faces now.
Marcelo, the engineer there, always at the helm of these Ferrari performances here on North American soil.
Yeah.
Okay. Dane Cameron, he didn't want to see this. He'd built that lead up to 2 seconds. Campbell definitely started to fall off the pace a little bit. Cameron maintained that mid-7 to high 7 second range. 2 minutes 7.8 was his last lap. Campbell at 2:08.3. If there is a reset or rego, does Campbell giving his tires a chance to catch their breath?
Once again, this Road America safety team, where Barron stopped, and the car just rolled to a stop, so it wasn't anything driveline related. If they can, here they come, and they'll just attach to him, take him down there, and probably the access road between 13 and 5, they'll just turn him there, or just take him. There's actually a cutout down on the left side of the track, driver's left as they call it, down in by Canada Corner, where they can tuck him. And this is absolutely the right call in this section of track.
Yeah, I mean, if something happens, you have a whatever mechanical failure, technical issue, two cars bounce into each other, you're basically, you know, you're 150 miles an hour, and you're straight into the back of a race car. So Nathan Bonneau and the real-time crew were hoping they were going to be enjoying their chicken tonight, and a few minutes here to try and get through, but they know they got a driver who seems to withstand pressure really well, but he's got
a charger behind him.
Yeah. Oof. The restart's going to be so critical. There'll be some games played on that, I'll guarantee you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And getting back to what you were talking about, if anything goes wrong in that section of track, I was flagging a race here where they had a car stop and something happened, and it wasn't good. So I'm a absolute advocate of, this one was absolutely. But there you go. This safety team is so fast.
So we're going to probably take about another 4 minutes or so to get back around here and get back to green. So it should be about a 3 to 4 minute shootout. So maybe 3 laps. No, 2 laps probably. See what time's out.
All right, as the Acura NSX, the official safety car, picks up the lead group. Let's get down to Ryan with the driver of another Acura.
One gentleman who I think is awfully thrilled to have this yellow is Martin Barkey. They got Kyle Marcelli behind the wheel of the Racer's Edge Acura at the moment, and you were just telling me, hey, this gives us a chance to mix it up with both Campbell as well as Dane Cameron, but also to see what happens between those two.
Yeah, we were already sitting in P3, but I had left, I think, a 10 or 11 second gap in my stint, so wasn't super happy with that. But you know what? Anytime you can put the likes of Dane, Campbell, and Marcelli up front, each car there is fighting for the championship right now. It should be a real exciting restart, and it's something we really needed to close the gap back up and give the MBRP Racers Edge 80 Acura a chance at a taller step.
We think there'll be maybe 2 laps or so to work with once we go back to green. So what can Kyle do? Where is the car strong? Where might he be able to make a move?
Well, you know what, Kyle's we've talked about this, you know, it is the end of the year. You got to be aggressive. Kyle knows what to do. He's done this many, many times before, many more times than I have. So, you know, I'm gonna leave it up to him to where it's gonna be do well, and he'll pull it off.
Pleasure as always. Good luck.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Ryan.
I think there's so many things to think about the what-ifs right now. For Dane Cameron, he's got Bentleys in front of him who've not been running at the pace of him. That's a problem. That's because even if he can run faster lap times than Campbell, he can maybe not go anywhere with it. You would think, okay, well, why don't you do this? Gap away from them before you go green. There's a rule in place. You have to stay within a handful of car lengths between each other. You can't just drop back 10 seconds and then create that buffer in front again. Then what does Marcelli do? For Campbell, he can't just focus on Cameron anymore. He's got to think about his rear view mirror as well. So this is going to be really feisty.
And with the laps we were seeing from Soule, you know, how hard is he attacking Prent? I would think he'll be a wingman there because Prent's the better placed in the championship significantly.
No, by the way, Hargrove would level win.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, you know, and that comes down to what you were talking about. What has Tony saved in the car? Because Hargrove, near the end of this, before the flag, oftentimes was running a little quicker than Vilander.
Just looking at this, Vilander may have a buffer there. Yeah, a
couple lap
car is there, and then there's another buffer car between Hargrove and the Bentleys, the Fuentes.
All right, we're going green. We may see 3 laps here.
Yeah.
All right, well, here we go, folks. Game on, 5 minutes. And a restart about to unfold. Vilander bringing the field up. And there is Greg Leafage, second car in the queue, down a lap.
Campbell gets a run. Can't look in the middle of the pack. Then that Porsche gets a big run on Cameron.
Oh, and the Bentley's blunted.
Prent almost into the back of Hargrove. There's Cameron to the inside. Soule doesn't want to give it to him. Side by side, Marcelli around the outside. What a move by Kyle Marcelli. Moves up to second and takes the lane away from Matt Campbell down into turn 3.
Makes it stick. Unbelievable looking out of the back of the Bentley. But look at this move. Campbell right around the outside of Marcelli at the exit of 3.
Well, we talked about these Bentleys maybe not having the pace of some of these Pro-Am Acuras in front of Man Campbell. What a mixture we have right now. Cameron got to try and clear Fuentes, and the Bentley down to the inside. Cameron takes it in deep.
What a move by Cameron, threading the needle, picking up 2 positions relative to the people he's racing in class. That was brilliant. And again, Campbell able to sneak back around Marcelli after it looked like Marcelli had him made.
Well, just when we thought the Bentleys were going to be a problem for Cameron, now he's suddenly got a buffer between he and the chasing. Campbell deep down on the brakes.
Yeah, that was on Soule. We're on board looking out the front with Cameron here, and he wasn't able to get through.
That had to be awfully close. He was committed.
And all of this has allowed Wielander to just check out.
Some monster moves there by Matt Campbell. That was awesome racing. What a lap of racing here at Road America.
Just incredible. And Leafage, other than he's just holding his position right now. There's Hargrove, Parent, and at the back of
I think the Bentleys may have more tire degradation. Oh, Campbell really wide as well. He is pushing really hard.
Incredibly hard.
Brent starting to put the pressure on Hargrove. Looks like Cameron's found a nice little space to work with.
Yep.
Could be 2 more laps to go.
Cal, that needle thread that Cameron played going down into 5 was just, that's what he does.
Brent gets the run. Brent gets the run. That Bentley has a bit more straightaway speed than the Porsche. With the draft, just makes the move around the outside. Nothing Hargrove can do about it. Big late move by Parent. He needs these points. He's got to minimize that gap to Wielander.
Remember that Leafage is down a lap, so he is not taking points away from any of these pro cars, but he is.
Look at Cameron, he's got to run on Hargrove here.
Yep. And that shuts the door on Hargrove, making sure he can't come back around, and that may hurt Hargrove. Here comes Soule.
This is awesome stuff. What a finish to this race.
Yes. Ooh, touch there.
That's Marcelli and Campbell going hard at it.
When that touch, you can see Marcelli lost a ton of ground just from that little moment.
He's putting it all on the line. He can see that Cameron's going to maybe score the big points here this weekend. What does Cameron want to do with Alvaro Parent? Parent has to deal with the BMW in front of him. Wielander's taken off up front. There he is, entering the kink.
All right, is Parent close enough to try and do something? Wiggle by Parent there. Oh, he's got a problem.
Yeah, Parent's backing off. Ain't sure if he's cut down a tire or something. Seemed like he had a struggle there. I saw a puff of smoke there. Yeah, he's got a problem. Drama with Parent. Big in the championship. Big in the championship.
Saw that wiggle, Cal. I don't know if that was maybe when something happened with a tire or what.
I saw him coming through the kink, and it looked like there was some dust, like the car was hitting the deck, maybe the diffuser or something. So I'm not sure if he's just got low tire pressure on one of the corners there.
So there's Cameron.
A few seconds on the board, but that means we got another lap of racing.
Indeed.
Cameron up to second overall as now Hargrove protects on Soule, side by side through 1.
Soule way wide. And now that might give Campbell an opportunity on the inside of Soule, down into 3. He's through.
Awesome. It doesn't matter they're not in the same class. This is just hard racing.
And Marcelli got a nice run as a result of that through 3. Can he do anything down into 5? That Acura's really quick in a straight line. He's hoping that Soule will try something here. Soule's going to go to the outside.
Marcelli's got speed. He can tuck it to the inside up the hill. He's going to get the run on the Bentley.
Indeed. Oh, the Bentley covers him. At the line, by the way, Wielander was 4 seconds clear of Cameron.
4 seconds clear, and the nearest contender in the championship is having drama.
Yes.
Big day for SRO Motorsports.
Again.
We've said that a lot.
Yes, they did it at the Glen again. Boy, I'll tell you, what a fascinating restart this was. A couple of those lap cars in the way really set this on its ear. There's Vilander, there's Cameron, second overall. And if we had a move of the race award, it would have to be Cameron, that threading the needle, picking up 2 spots in the braking zone of 5. That was stellar.
Yeah, just really great racecraft in recognizing where to position the race car, having enough wherewithal to get down to the inside and not leave that door open for guys like Hargrove to try and retaliate.
That's what Dane seems to do. I've seen him put some moves on like that many times over the years. It's incredible. But in terms of championship moves, Vilander gently onto the throttle, out of the last turn, climbing the hill here at Road America. And as he comes across the top, our Ferrari Vilander Serra win at Road America. Dane Cameron in real time, not only winning Pro-Am, but second overall at their home track in the Acura. That's incredibly special stuff as well.
That was an awesome last 5 minutes of that race.
Oh my.
Talk about light the torch on some gunpowder there.
That chicken roast is going to be a party tonight. Wow, incredible. Hargrove, 3rd overall. Campbell, 4th overall, and what a last few laps he put in. Soule, 5th overall.
Some mega performances there.
Yeah. Incredible. And Parent ends up in 9th.
Well, another lap or two, and
wow.
Cameron could have gone after Tony because they were showing pace. We kept talking about the pace of he and Campbell when they are mid-pack and battling out for the lead. They're the results, Greg.
Yeah, you take a look, but here you're right, because Vilander's last lap was a 2:11. Cameron's a 2:08. So now Vilander had margin and could have been being very genteel with things.
Sure.
But there you have a look at it. But the black background with a white number, that's a Pro-Am car. And you've got them 2nd overall, 4th overall, 6th, 7th, and 8th overall. And the big story there in terms of that number 43, where it finished in the 2nd spot, and Marcelli and Barkey 3rd. Now Cameron gets winner's points.
21-point lead is now cut down to 11 as a 10-point swing.
Wow. Now here we're going to go back and show you. Watch Parent here. Now, this is after the exit of the kink, where he already had the problem.
Yeah, he's just got something going on with the race car.
And that all started back actually in the kink. As I said, as he exited, there was a wiggle. Something went wrong there.
Finishes. Finishes the race, but I definitely saw something that seemed like there was some carbon dust or something going on, like the car was suddenly low to the deck, which caused him to bobble.
Yeah, something happened to be sure. It's the field coming around here.
Tell you, that battle between Campbell and Cameron was intense.
It was phenomenal, wasn't it?
And you knew it was going to get all fired up with the other cars around him.
Absolutely.
Who was it going to work for? That was earning the money there today.
It sure was. And really the only way that Cameron could deal with that was to put some cars between himself and Campbell, and he did, with one of the best moves I've seen this season. They're making their way down into pit lane. Ryan Marine will be waiting for them to have a bit of a chat. Yeah, you see the corner workers applauding. They know they saw something special on those last few laps in particular.
I think that was the lap of the year.
Yes, yes. Just exceptional. And Vilander, with the help of one Daniel Serra, takes another step toward defending a championship.
Yeah, they're going to have a big margin here.
Yeah. And conversely, as you pointed out, the Marcelli Barkey team are going to have a lot less of a margin than they did coming in as well.
I think it could be, according to timing and scoring, maybe a 51-point lead for Vilander tonight.
Wow, that's big.
That's 2 clear wins.
Yes.
If he has that tomorrow night, championship is clinched.
Exactly. All right.
He saved enough.
He
He
did.
saved enough and managed it very well.
Yep.
That's experience right there.
It is. It is. And then knew on that last lap the margin he had. He just made sure he didn't, you know, that he brought it home. Gave up some time to Cameron, but not that position. Yeah, good stuff by Tony Vilander. That helmet coming off here, and we'll hear from him. All right, Ryan?
Well, Tony takes the helmet off. He gets the Pirelli hat and a big smile on your face as well. A dominant win for you and Daniel and the R-Ferry team, but perhaps more importantly for the championship. It comes on a day when your closest challengers have some problems. We think the lead is now 51 points with 3 races to go.
Yeah, I mean, Road America, for some reason, I struggle always a little bit. I think today is one thing to point out Daniel's performance. He's here for the first time. Did you see his qualifying? He matched the pace of last year's pole, and he was in the other planet. But I seen the onboard, and that was incredible. I still love the fact that there's the human aspect. It's not only the machine. There's also a man inside, a driver inside who takes it to the limit. And today, big credit goes obviously to my team, but especially to Daniel.
And to the crew, too, because that pit stop, the guys in the booth were talking about it, that was about as sharp as a pit stop as we've seen from any team all season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of adrenaline. There's a lot of tension to the actual pit stop because it's one shot. You screw it up and the race is compromised. There's the man. Hey, good job. So it's a lot of pressure. So the guys have been working for the pit stop, and if we improve the car on track, they have definitely improved the pit stop as well.
Congratulations. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, and he gave absolutely, rightly and humbly all that credit to Daniel Sayre and said that was a lap of the gods compared to anything else we've seen this weekend. But that last lap of this race, or the second to the last lap of this race, was
a lap
off
of the
hook.
gods.
Yeah, it truly was. Truly was. All right, let's check in with Ryan once again.
It's a crowded victory celebration here. Mike Hedlund, Dane Cameron just hopped out of the real-time racing Acura. Oh boy, those last few laps after that restart, a couple of bold moves, but they were required under the circumstances, right?
Yeah, to be honest, I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I knew it was going to get pretty messy, especially with the lap cars. I knew Campbell was super strong on the brakes. I knew he had good top speed and really good in the fast corners, so tried to make something happen while I could and get away. And didn't really want to see that yellow in the first place because I'd kind of just cleared him, and as his tires started to fade. But then it kind of went full course yellow, and it looked a little dicey, and the Bentleys looked like they were struggling, so it was kind of time to party and try to make something happen.
Took another big chunk out of the championship lead. Now do you let yourself think about it? You kind of laughed the notion away at Watkins Glen, but it's getting real.
Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't really something we had in mind when we started, and it's sort of going that direction. But, anything can happen with 3 races to go. We could have easily gone the opposite direction, gone backwards instead of forward, which is why I was pretty aggressive to try to get some cars, especially once I could get the Bentley, get the Pro car between us, and try to relax a little bit. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. 3 races to go, and who knows what Vegas is going to be like. So we'll see. We'll keep digging, keep trying to win some more races. This is 99 for real time now at their home track, so we're kind of teed up for 100 tomorrow. So Peter says no pressure.
Very good. 3 straight wins and 5 on the season now for the real-time gang.
Yeah, an impressive run to be sure. And that race tomorrow, if they win that 100th, it's going to be on a full belly of chicken. We're going to love that. But at the start, Sarah really just took off and put in a good run. But to our delight and a bit of a surprise, Pat Long was able to hang with him.
They really were. They turned that Wright Motorsports Porsche around in terms of the lap times it was able to achieve. It was a very strong run for them, but what a battle we saw all day. The Bentleys were in the thick of it. They faded a little bit at the end, but certainly in the early going, they were right there. Some big, bold moves down in this turn 5 brake zone. Watch for Suchek there, down to the inside of his younger teammate, but I think there's a bit of team orders in play there. Rodrigo wasn't going to fight him too much.
Absolutely, and then the restart and everything getting absolutely crazy here. Campbell doing everything he could to try and come up.
Yeah, Marcelli around the outside there in turn 1, and Campbell retaliated in turn 3 and down into turn 5. Cameron had to make it happen and clear that Bentley. And just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get the hell out of there. That's pretty much the motivation for him. And he did absolutely exceptional stuff. Up front at that point, of course, Vilander had checked out, but this battling wasn't done just yet.
Brent here.
Yeah.
Big drama here for our championship contender. And the championship lead is blown out.
And our Ferry, Vilander and Sarah winning with real time, winning their class at their home track, Road America. We do it again tomorrow.